The Crimson Dawn the morning started like any other for Commander Sarah Chon at the Luna Defense Station. She was reviewing patrol reports when every alarm in the facility began screaming at once. Sarah dropped her coffee mug and rushed to the main command center, where dozens of technicians were frantically working at their stations. "Report!" Sarah barked as she entered the chaos. Lieutenant David Park, barely out of the academy, turned from his sensor console with a pale face. "Commander, we have contacts. Massive contacts dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of our solar system." Sarah moved to the main display screen and felt her heart stop. The tactical display showed hundreds of red dots appearing in space, each one representing a ship larger than anything humanity had ever built. The vessels were sleek and dark, shaped like predatory birds with wings spread wide. They moved in perfect formation, creating a wall of metal and death that stretched across the darkness. "How many?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the fear creeping up her spine. "Still counting, ma'am. We're at over 1,500 confirmed contacts, and more arriving every minute." David's hands shook as he worked his controls. "Each ship is at least 3 times the size of our largest dreadnought." Dr. Marcus Webb, the station's xenobiology specialist, had been monitoring deep space communications for years. He approached Sarah with a grim expression. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission on multiple frequencies. It's not directed at us specifically, but it's clearly meant for Earth." "Put it through," Sarah ordered. The main screen flickered, and a face appeared that would haunt humanity's nightmares. Admiral Thane Korak was tall and imposing, with silver skin that seemed to shimmer in the artificial light. His eyes were completely black, like staring into the void of space itself. He wore a uniform decorated with symbols that spoke of conquest and domination. "Inhabitants of the third planet." Korak's voice was cold and mechanical, speaking perfect English with no emotion. "I am Admiral Thane Korak of the Hegemony Royal Fleet. Your system has been selected for integration into our empire. You have 48 hours to surrender unconditionally. All military forces will stand down. All leaders will report for processing. Any resistance will result in the complete sterilization of your world." The transmission ended, leaving the command center. In stunned silence, Sarah looked around at her team, seeing fear in every face. These were trained military personnel, but they had never imagined facing something like this. "Get me Earth Command," Sarah ordered, "and wake up everyone in the solar system. This is not a drill." Within an hour, every government leader on Earth was connected to an emergency conference. President Maria Santos appeared on the main screen, her face drawn but determined. Around her, the leaders of every major nation sat in similar emergency bunkers. "What are we looking at, Commander Chun?" President Santos asked. "Unknown alien fleet, Madam President. Ship count is now approaching 2,000 vessels. They're not responding to our communication attempts, and they've given us less than 2 days to surrender." Dr. Webb stepped forward. "Based on their formation and ship designs, this appears to be a military conquest fleet. They've done this before, probably many times." General Patricia Rivera, the Supreme Military Commander, joined the conference from her bunker beneath the Pentagon. "Madam President, our entire space fleet consists of maybe 300 ships. Most of those are patrol vessels and cargo haulers. We have perhaps 50 ships that could be considered true warships." President Santos was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. "Then we fight with 300 ships. We fight with everything we have." "Madam President," General Rivera said carefully. "The odds—" "I don't care about the odds," Santos interrupted. "I care about freedom. I care about our children's future. If we surrender now, we become slaves. If we fight and lose, we die free." Captain Elena Vasquez was in the middle of a routine patrol when the alert came through. Her ship, the Phoenix, was one of Earth's newest vessels, equipped with experimental weapons and advanced engines. She was a veteran of the asteroid mining conflicts and had earned her reputation as one of humanity's best ship commanders. "All ships, this is Earth Command," the message crackled through her communication system. "Code Black, all vessels return to defensive positions immediately. This is not a drill." Elena's crew looked at her with questions in their eyes. She had never heard a Code Black before. It was the signal that meant Earth itself was under threat. "You heard them," Elena said calmly. "Set course for Earth. Maximum speed." As the Phoenix raced through space, Elena studied the intelligence reports flooding in. The alien fleet was massive, professional, and clearly experienced. But there was something else in the reports that caught her attention. The aliens moved in rigid formations, following precise patterns that never changed. "They fight like a machine," she muttered to herself. "Perfect, efficient, predictable." Her first officer, Commander Lisa Park, looked over her shoulder. "Ma'am?" "Nothing." "Lisa, just thinking out loud." The first battle happened 18 hours after the alien ultimatum. A small human patrol group encountered an alien scouting force near Jupiter's moons. Lieutenant David Park, who had been transferred to active duty, led 3 fighters against 6 alien vessels. The aliens expected an easy victory. They had fought this same battle countless times against countless species. Their ships were superior. In every way, larger, more heavily armed, better shielded. On paper, it should have been a massacre. But humans don't fight on paper. David's fighters approached the alien ships in an irregular pattern, weaving through space like dancers. The aliens opened fire with precise, calculated shots aimed at where the human ships should have been. But the humans weren't where they should have been. They twisted and turned, using the gravity of nearby asteroids to change direction in ways that defied the aliens' predictions. "All fighters, remember your training," David spoke into his communicator. "Stay unpredictable. Don't let them get a lock on you." The human fighters were smaller and faster than the alien vessels, but they carried much less firepower. David watched. His shots bounced harmlessly off the alien shields, while their return fire carved through space where he had been moments before. Then something unexpected happened. Fighter pilot Maria Santos, the president's daughter who had insisted on serving in the military, found herself trapped between 2 alien ships. Her engines were damaged, and she couldn't escape. "I'm not going to make it," she said calmly over the radio. "Tell my mother I'm proud to serve." Instead of trying to escape, Maria aimed her damaged fighter directly at the nearest alien ship and pushed her engines to maximum. The aliens tried to destroy her before she could reach them, but she was too close and moving too fast. The impact was devastating. Maria's small fighter, weighing maybe 100 tons, crashed into the alien vessel's hull at incredible speed. The explosion tore through the alien ship's armor and caused a chain reaction in their power systems. The massive alien vessel, designed to survive direct hits from heavy weapons, was destroyed by a single human fighter. The other aliens stopped firing, confused by what they had witnessed. Their computers could not process what had happened. The human pilot had deliberately sacrificed herself to destroy their ship. It was not logical. It was not efficient. It was not what civilized species did. David used their confusion to press his attack for Maria. He shouted, leading his remaining fighters in a desperate charge. The humans fought with a fury that the aliens had never encountered before. When their weapons ran out, they used their ships as weapons. When their ships were damaged, they used the wreckage as projectiles. The alien scouting force was completely destroyed. 6 superior ships, manned by professional soldiers, had been defeated by 3 inferior vessels, commanded by humans who refused to accept defeat. Asterisk. Admiral Korak received the report in his command ship with growing confusion. The humans had not only fought back, they had won. In 3,000 years of conquest, no species had ever defeated a hegemony scouting force on their first encounter. How? Is this possible? Korak demanded of his tactical officer. Admiral, the humans do not fight according to established military doctrine. They appear to prioritize mission success over individual survival. Their tactics are chaotic. Korak studied the battle recordings. The humans moved like wild animals, with no regard for formation or efficiency. They fought with an emotional intensity that his species had abandoned millennia ago. It was primitive, irrational, and somehow terrifyingly effective. Send a larger force, Korak ordered. Double the ships. These humans need to learn what happens when inferior species challenge the hegemony. But Earth was not learning to submit. Earth was learning to fight in hidden bunkers around the world. Weapon systems that had been secretly developed for decades began to activate. Civilian factories converted to military production in a matter of hours. Scientists worked around the clock to analyze the wreckage from the first battle, searching for any weakness in the alien technology. Dr. Webb made the first breakthrough. Their shields operate on a rotating frequency, he explained to the assembled military leaders. If we can match that frequency, we can punch through their defenses. Within hours, human engineers were modifying their weapons. The technology was crude compared to the alien systems, but it was adaptable. More importantly, it was made by people who understood that sometimes the best weapon is the one you can fix with spare parts and determination. Captain Elena Vasquez received the new weapon modifications as her ship approached Earth's orbital defense grid. The Phoenix had been equipped with the experimental frequency-matching cannons, making it one of the most dangerous ships in the human fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Sarah Chun, came the voice over the communication system. Sarah had been promoted to overall fleet commander after her performance during the first contact. The aliens are sending a larger force. Our job is to show them that humans get more dangerous when we're threatened, not less. Elena smiled grimly. Phoenix Squadron, form up on me. Let's teach these aliens what happens when they threaten Earth. The second battle was different from the first. The aliens came in force, with dozens of ships and overwhelming firepower. But the humans were ready for them. They had learned from the first encounter and adapted their tactics accordingly. The human ships no longer fought like a traditional fleet. They fought like a pack of wolves, coordinating their attacks and supporting each other. They used the modified weapons to punch through alien shields, then swarmed the disabled ships with boarding parties. Elena led her squadron in a direct assault on the alien command ship. The massive vessel was bristling with weapons and surrounded by escorts, but the humans approached it like they were hunting a dangerous animal. All ships target the command vessel's shield generators, Elena ordered. We're going to board that ship and show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. The Phoenix and her escorts attacked in perfect coordination. They're modified, weapons tearing through the alien shields. As the barriers collapsed, Elena launched her ship's boarding pods directly at the enemy vessel. The aliens inside the command ship were not prepared for human boarding tactics. They were used to fighting ship-to-ship battles at long range, not face-to-face combat in their own corridors. The humans who stormed through their ship fought with a personal intensity that was completely alien to their experience. Commander Lisa Park led one of the boarding parties, fighting through the ship's corridors with a team of Marines who had trained their entire lives for this moment. The aliens were skilled fighters, but they had never faced an enemy that brought such personal fury to battle. Bridge secured, Lisa reported as her team captured the ship's command center. We've got their computers. Within hours, human technicians were downloading the alien ship's database. They learned about hegemony fleet compositions, battle tactics, and most importantly, the location of their own systems. But the most valuable information was something the aliens hadn't intended to reveal. The hegemony royal fleet had conquered over 1,000 worlds, but they had never faced serious resistance. They were designed to terrorize and crush, not to fight a prolonged war against a determined enemy. "They're bullies," Elena observed, reading the intelligence reports. "They're used to enemies who surrender quickly. They don't know how to fight someone who fights back." Admiral Korak stood in his command chamber, staring at the reports of his second defeat. The humans had not only won another battle, they had captured one of his ships. His professional soldiers, trained from birth for warfare, had been defeated by a species that had only learned of the hegemony's existence 2 days ago. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet." "Put it through," Korak ordered. The face that appeared on his screen was that of Admiral Sarah Chun. She looked tired but determined, and her eyes held no fear. "Admiral Korak," Sarah said calmly, "I believe you wanted to speak with our leaders." "I'm Admiral Sarah Chun, commanding the Earth Defense Force. We've reviewed your surrender terms, and we have a counteroffer." Korak was intrigued despite himself. "What counteroffer?" "Leave our system immediately, and we won't follow you home and teach your people what humans do to bullies." The transmission ended, leaving Korak staring at a blank screen. In 3,000 years of conquest, no species had ever threatened the hegemony. These humans were either completely insane or far more dangerous than he had imagined. As he considered his options, Admiral Korak began to realize that he might have made a terrible mistake. The humans were not just fighting for their survival. They were fighting for something he had almost forgotten existed, the right to be free, and they were very good at fighting. Asterisk. The tide turns. Admiral Korak's response to the human counteroffer was swift and overwhelming. Within 12 hours, the entire hegemony royal fleet had positioned itself around Earth's solar system. Over 4,000 ships formed a blockade that stretched from Mercury to Jupiter, cutting off all escape routes and communications. "This ends now," Korak declared to his assembled fleet commanders. "These humans have embarrassed us enough. We will demonstrate what happens when primitive species challenge the hegemony." But the humans had not been idle during those 12 hours. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in bunkers that had been secretly prepared for decades, General Patricia Rivera coordinated the planet's defense from a command center that could survive a direct nuclear strike. "Status report," Rivera ordered as she entered the main operations room. Engineer James Thompson, a brilliant weapons specialist who had been working on experimental technology for the past 10 years, looked up from his computer console. "General, we've completed the analysis of the captured alien ship. I've got good news and bad news." "Give me the bad news first." "The bad news is that their individual ships are still superior to ours in almost every way. Better shields, better weapons, better armor. In a straight fight, we lose." Rivera nodded grimly. "And the good news?" "The good news is that they're not designed for the kind of war we're going to fight. Their ships are built for overwhelming firepower and intimidation. They're not built for adaptation or innovation." Thompson brought up a holographic display showing the alien ship's internal structure. "Look at this. Every system is hardwired to work in one specific way. They can't modify their weapons or tactics on the fly. We can." Dr. Priya Sharma, the team xenobiology expert, joined the briefing. "I've been analyzing their communication protocols. The entire fleet operates under a strict hierarchy. Every ship waits for orders from the command vessel before acting. If we can disrupt their communications, we can turn their size advantage into a weakness." Rivera studied the information carefully. "How long do we have?" "Based on their current Positioning, they'll begin the final assault in 6 hours, Thompson replied. But General, I've got something else. We've been working on this for years, hoping we'd never need it. Thompson led Rivera to a secure section of the bunker, where dozens of technicians were working on weapon systems that looked nothing like traditional human technology. The devices were sleek and organic-looking, almost alive. We call it the Adaptive Defense Network, Thompson explained. It's based on the same principles that make human immune systems so effective. When these systems encounter a new threat, they learn from it and adapt their countermeasures in real time. You're talking about artificial intelligence, Rivera said. Not exactly. More like artificial evolution. These systems don't think like we do. They respond and adapt, getting stronger with each encounter. Rivera looked at the strange weapons with a mixture of hope and concern. Are you sure we can control them? General, at this point, I'm not sure we can control anything. But I know one thing. These aliens think they understand humans. They think we're just another primitive species that will break under pressure. They're about to learn that humans don't break. We adapt. Captain Mike O'Connor was preparing for what might be humanity's last stand. His special operations team had been assigned to infiltrate and sabotage the alien fleet, a mission that was essentially suicide. But O'Connor had volunteered, and his team had followed him without question. Listen up, O'Connor addressed his squad in the briefing room. We're going to sneak aboard the alien command ship and plant these devices. He held up a small, crystalline object that seemed to pulse with its own light. Dr. Sharma calls them evolution viruses. They're designed to learn the alien computer systems and spread through their entire network. Sergeant Rachel Martinez, O'Connor's second in command, raised her hand. Captain, how exactly are we supposed to get aboard an alien ship in the middle of a battle? O'Connor smiled grimly. We're going to use their own technology against them. The captured ship is still spaceworthy. We're going to fly it right into their fleet. The plan was audacious, even by human standards. O'Connor's team would use the captured alien vessel to approach the hegemony fleet, claiming to be returning from a scouting mission. Once they were close enough, they would abandon the ship and use personal stealth technology to infiltrate the command vessel. Remember, O'Connor told his team as they prepared to launch, we're not just fighting for Earth. Every species the hegemony has conquered is counting on us. This is our chance to prove that bullies can be beaten. The battle began. At dawn Earth time, Admiral Korak's fleet opened fire with enough energy to crack a planet's surface. The barrage was intended to destroy Earth's orbital defenses and break human morale in one devastating blow. But the humans were no longer where the aliens expected them to be. The Adaptive Defense Network had been deployed throughout the solar system, creating a web of interconnected defensive systems that could respond to threats faster than any organic mind could process. As the alien weapons fired, the human defenses analyzed the incoming energy signatures and adapted their countermeasures. In real time, beams of energy that should have destroyed space stations were deflected by shields that learned and evolved with each shot. Missiles that should have obliterated entire fleets were intercepted by defense systems that predicted their targets before the weapons themselves knew where they were going. Impossible, Korak muttered, watching his overwhelming assault fail. To achieve its intended effect, their defenses are adapting to our weapons. His tactical officer, Sub-Commander Zex Morthic, was a younger officer who had begun to question the hegemony's methods. Admiral, perhaps we should consider negotiation. These humans are unlike any species we've encountered. Negotiation? Korak's voice was filled with contempt. The hegemony does not negotiate with primitives. Increase power to all weapons. Destroy their defenses. But the harder the aliens pushed, the stronger the human defenses became. The Adaptive Defense Network was learning not just from individual attacks, but from the entire pattern of the alien assault. It was evolving at a rate their organic minds could not match. Asterisk. Captain Elena Vasquez led the human counterattack from the bridge of the Phoenix. Her ship had been equipped with the most advanced human-alien hybrid technology, making it a match for any vessel in the hegemony fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Chun," came the voice over the communication system. "The aliens expected us to cower in fear. Instead, we're going to show them what happens when you threaten a species that refuses to give up." Elena smiled as she watched her tactical display. The human fleet was moving in a pattern that the aliens couldn't predict or counter. They fought like water flowing around obstacles, adapting to every defensive measure the hegemony deployed. "Phoenix Squadron, target their communication relays," Elena ordered. "Let's see how well they fight when they can't talk to each other." The human ships swarmed through the alien fleet like wolves hunting elk. They were smaller and individually weaker, but they moved with a coordination that the aliens couldn't match. When one ship was damaged, another would take its place seamlessly. When the aliens adapted to one tactic, the humans would immediately shift to another. Captain O'Connor's infiltration team had successfully boarded the alien command ship. They moved through the corridors like ghosts, using their knowledge of the ship's layout to avoid patrols and security systems. "We're in position," O'Connor whispered into his communicator. "Beginning virus deployment." The evolution viruses were unlike anything the aliens had encountered. They didn't attack the alien computer systems directly. Instead, they learned how those systems worked and began to improve them in ways that served human interests. Within minutes, the viruses had spread throughout the alien fleet's communication network. The hegemony ships found their own systems turning against them, sharing information with the humans and refusing to target civilian areas. Admiral Sub-Commander Morthic reported with growing alarm. "Our ships are no longer responding to Central Command. They're acting independently." Korak stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His perfectly coordinated fleet was falling apart. Ships were breaking formation, communication was failing, and worst of all, some of his vessels were actually helping the humans. "What are they doing to us?" he demanded. Dr. Sharma monitored the virus deployment from her position in the Earth Command bunker. "General Rivera, the viruses are exceeding all expectations. They're not just disrupting the alien systems. They're converting them. Converting them to what? To systems that value survival over domination, life over death, freedom over slavery." Sharma looked up from her console with amazement. "General, I think we've just taught the alien fleet how to have a conscience." The tide of battle turned in a matter of hours. The hegemony fleet, designed to crush resistance through overwhelming force, found itself unable to coordinate its attacks. Individual ships began to question their orders, influenced by the evolution viruses that were teaching them to value the same things humans valued. Sub-Commander Morthic was the first to openly disobey orders. "Admiral, I will not fire on the civilian population centers. These humans are defending their home. We are the invaders here." "You forget yourself, Sub-Commander," Korak replied coldly. The hegemony is wrong," Morthic interrupted. "I've been studying these humans. They're not primitive. They're not weak. They're fighting for something we've forgotten, the right to exist as free beings." Across the fleet, other officers were coming to similar conclusions. The evolution viruses hadn't just infected their computer systems. They had infected their thinking, forcing them to see the universe from a different perspective. Captain Elena Vasquez found herself facing a hegemony destroyer whose captain had just surrendered. "Human vessel, this is Captain Vex Cora of the Hegemony Ship Domination. I formally surrender my vessel and crew to your command." Elena was stunned. "Captain, we're not asking for your surrender. We're asking for your cooperation." I do not understand the difference. Surrender means you've lost and we've won. Cooperation means we work together to build something better. On the alien command ship, Admiral Korak found himself facing a choice he had never imagined. His fleet was disintegrating, his officers were defecting, and the humans were offering him something that the hegemony had never offered anyone: a chance to change. Captain O'Connor stood on the bridge of the alien flagship, surrounded by hegemony officers who had laid down their weapons. Admiral Korak, you have a choice. You can continue fighting a war you can't win, or you can help. You build a galaxy where no species has to live in fear. Korak looked around at his officers, seeing doubt and hope in faces that had known only duty and conquest. What are you proposing? We're proposing that you remember what it means to be alive, O'Connor replied. Not just to exist, but to grow, to learn, to become something better than you were yesterday. The war ended not with a surrender, but with a transformation. The hegemony royal fleet, designed to crush resistance, became the foundation for a new kind of alliance. Ships that had been built to conquer worlds were converted to explore new frontiers. Officers who had been trained to dominate became teachers. And diplomats. Admiral Korak stood on the bridge of his flagship, now renamed the New Beginning, watching Earth recede in the distance. He was leading a fleet of former hegemony ships to the far reaches of the galaxy, where other species waited, to learn that freedom was possible. Admiral, Sub-Commander Morthic approached with a report. We've received messages from 17 different star systems. They want to join the Alliance. Korak nodded. Then we'll teach them what the humans taught us, that no one has to be a slave, that everyone deserves a chance to be free. Back on Earth, Admiral Sarah Chon stood in the same command center where she had first seen the alien fleet. The screens now showed not threats, but opportunities. Human ships were traveling to distant worlds, not as conquerors, but as partners. Status report, she asked her staff. Lieutenant David Park, now promoted to commander, looked up from his console with a smile. Ma'am, we've got contact with 47 different species. They're all asking the same question, which is, they want to know how we did it, how we convinced the hegemony to change instead of just defeating them. Sarah thought about the question for a moment. Tell them the truth. We didn't convince them to change. We showed them what they already knew, but had forgotten, that every thinking being deserves the right to be free. The royal fleet had been built to crush planets, but it had met something it couldn't crush, the human spirit. And in trying to break that spirit, the fleet had discovered something far more valuable than conquest. They had discovered hope. The galaxy would never be the same. Where once there had been an empire built on fear and domination, there was now an alliance built on cooperation and mutual respect. The hegemony's 1,000-year reign of terror was over, replaced by something unprecedented in galactic history, a civilization that grew stronger by helping others grow stronger. And it all started because humanity refused to surrender, even when surrender seemed like the only logical choice. The humans had proven that sometimes the most powerful weapon is not a gun or a bomb, but simply the refusal to give up. They had shown the galaxy that freedom is not something that can be given or taken away. It's something that exists in the hearts of all thinking beings, waiting for the courage to break free. The royal fleet had come to Earth expecting to find another world to conquer. Instead, they found a species that taught them how to be free. And in learning that lesson, they had freed not just themselves, but an entire galaxy. The war was over. The real adventure was just beginning. Asterisk.